The walls of David's apartment didn't just hold up the ceiling, they seemed to lean in, whispering of his failures. Every morning the sun would rise and hit the peeling wallpaper, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the stale air. His life was a series of careful, painful calculations. How many days a single loaf of bread could last, how many miles he could walk to save on bus fare, and how many hours he could work at the warehouse before his spirit finally broke. David was a young man with a sharp mind and a handsome, though weary face. But in a city that ran on gold, he was invisible, a ghost in a world of flesh and blood. The only bright spot in his gray existence was Kevin. They had been inseparable since childhood, two boys who had shared dreams in the dirt of the same playground. But as they grew, their paths had diverged sharply. Kevin now moved through the world with the easy grace of a man who never had to look at a price tag. He wore shirts that felt like water and drove a car that hummed like a contented predator. Despite his wealth, Kevin never looked down on David. Instead, he looked at him with pity that David found harder to swallow than his meager dinners.
One rainy Tuesday, Kevin sat on David's sagging sofa, looking entirely out of place in his tailored suit. He had brought a bag of expensive groceries, items David hadn't tasted in years. "I can't do this anymore, Kev," David whispered, his voice cracking as he stared at the rain streaking the grime on his window. "I work 12 hours a day, and for what? To survive another 12? I'm tired of being a spectator. I want what you have. I want to breathe without feeling like I'm drowning." Kevin sighed, his expression turned uncharacteristically solemn. He leaned in, his voice dropped to a low murmur.
"You've always asked me how I did it. I told you it was luck. I lied. There is a woman, a seer, in the old district. She performs rites that bend the flow of fate. She gave me everything. But David, there is a price. You can never go back, and you can never seek her help a second time. It is a one-way door."
After Kevin left, leaving a crumpled slip of paper with an address, David couldn't sleep. He paced the small perimeter of his room, thinking of his childhood. He thought of his sister. They had grown up in the same poverty, but his sister had escaped years ago. She hadn't needed a degree or a high-paying job. She possessed a beauty so radiant that it acted as a master key to every locked door. She had married into a dynasty simply by existing. Beauty, David thought, staring at his reflection in a cracked mirror. Beauty is the ultimate currency. He decided then and there to kill two birds with one stone. He didn't just want money, he wanted the vessel that attracted it. He wanted to be the prize that the world fought to possess. The next morning, the city was draped in a thick silver fog as David reached the narrow alleyway behind an old clockmaker's shop. The air felt heavy, charged with a static that made the hair on his arms stand up. He knocked on the heavy oak door, and it creaked open to reveal a room lit by flickering candles and filled with the scent of incense and ozone. The seer was an ancient woman with eyes that looked like clouded marbles. She didn't ask questions. She seemed to know.
"You seek a new shape for your soul,"
she rasped. "I want to be a woman," David said, his voice firm despite his trembling hands. "The most beautiful, the most captivating. I want to be someone the world cannot say no to." The seer smiled, a slow, chilling movement of her lips. She began the chant, a low vibration that seemed to shake David's very bones. She threw a handful of iridescent powder into a copper brazier, and a cloud of violet smoke engulfed him. Suddenly, David's breath hitched. A wave of intense heat washed over him, followed by a sensation of his body melting and resetting. He felt his shoulders narrow and slope downward, the heavy muscle of his arms dissolving into soft, velvet-smooth skin. He gasped as a sharp pulling sensation moved through his chest. His skin stretched and bloomed, weight settling into full, heavy breasts that felt both alien and intoxicating. His waist cinched inward with an agonizing pressure, while his hips flared outward, curving into a lush, hourglass silhouette. He felt his hair sprout from his scalp, tumbling down his back in a heavy, silken cascade of dark waves. His features shifted, his jawline softened, his lips grew full and pouty, and his eyelashes lengthened until they cast shadows on his cheeks. When the smoke cleared, the man named David was gone. Standing in the center of the room was a woman of such staggering, breathtaking beauty that the very air seemed to still around her. She was tall, with a figure that was a masterpiece of curves and soft edges, her new body pulsing with a vitality she had never known. She looked down at her delicate, manicured hands and felt the weight of her new form. She was no longer a ghost. She was the flame. The air inside the seer's shop was thick with the scent of burning amber and old secrets. As the violet smoke began to swirl around David, the world didn't just change, it shattered. It started as a low hum in his marrow, a heat that escalated into a searing white-hot fire. He fell to his knees, feeling his skeletal structure softening, his bones becoming like warm wax being molded by invisible hands.
The transformation was an agonizing symphony of shedding and growth. He felt his shoulders narrow, the heavy muscle built from years of warehouse labor dissolving into soft, velvet-smooth skin. His chest felt as if it were being pulled from the inside out. He watched in a daze as his skin stretched and bloomed, weight settling into full, heavy breasts that felt incredibly sensitive and intoxicatingly real. His waist cinched inward with a sharp, breathless pressure, while his hips flared outward, curving into a lush, hourglass silhouette that made his old, ragged jeans tear at the seams. Then came the hair, a frantic, silken growth that erupted from his scalp, cascading down his back in a dark river of waves. His jawline softened into a delicate curve, and his lips grew full, pouty, and flushed. When the heat finally subsided, David was gone. In his place stood a woman of such staggering beauty that she seemed to glow in the dim light. She was tall, radiant, and possessed a figure so perfectly curvaceous, it felt like a dream.
She stepped onto the street, her new body moving with an instinctive, swaying grace. Every movement was a revelation, the way her thighs brushed together, the shift of her weight, and the cool air against her newfound curves. As she walked, the world around her froze. Men stopped mid-sentence, their eyes tracking her every movement. For the first time, she wasn't a ghost in the city. She was the prize. Kevin was waiting by the fountain, expecting the haggard man he had known since childhood. When he heard the soft click of heels, he glanced up, but his gaze didn't settle on her. He was still looking for David. She stopped directly in front of him, the evening breeze carrying the scent of jasmine toward him. Kevin's eyes finally locked onto hers, and his phone nearly slipped from his hand.
I'm sorry.
Kevin stammered, his face flushing.
I'm waiting for a friend. But, my God, you are stunning.
She let out a low, melodic laugh.
Kevin.
She whispered, her voice a velvety, hypnotic purr.
It's me. Don't you recognize the one you sent here?
The shock on Kevin's face was absolute. He searched her angelic face, his gaze traveling down the incredible, lush silhouette of her body.
David! No, it can't be. You're a goddess. You're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen.
He reached out, his hand trembling as he touched her shoulder, his fingers sinking into the soft, supple flesh. The pity he once felt vanished, replaced by a raw, magnetic adoration. They spent the evening walking through the moonlit city, the air charged with an electric tension. Kevin treated her with worshipful gallantry, his hand resting firmly on the small of her back. He couldn't stop looking at her, his gaze lingering on her lips and the way her new form moved under the moonlight. They walked and talked late into the night, the world around them disappearing until they reached the threshold of their destination. As they reached the heavy doors of the apartment building, the city sounds faded into a heartbeat of anticipation. They stood close, their breaths mingling in the cool night air, eyes locked in a silent, intense gaze. What happened after they stepped inside, and how the rest of their night unfolded, remains a mystery hidden behind the silver glow of the moon.